Alright, I thought we'd take a quick look at how this war is playing out. We are done. We've used all 30 of our attacks. There's nothing more we can do. They 3-starred everything but the number 1 base. They got 67% on that. Our enemy clan still has several attacks to use, but there's really no way they can come back from the beatdown we put on them here. But I thought we'd take a look at one quick attack. Peach, he fell into our number 5 spot. He got 3-starred by number 3, but he has recently got his level 4 hogs. He went after his mirror with his first attack. So let's take a look and see how he did. I think he was hoping that the archer there would trigger the clan castle, but it didn't. Easy fix, 1 hog. Peach started out as a underdeveloped Town Hall 8. When we got a hold of him, we taught him how to catch his base up. He's pushing his offense now, so he's got his level 4 hogs. I tell everybody at Town Hall 8 it's the most important troop they can have, because if you know how to use them, you can 3-star any other Town Hall 8. So he's pulling that defense out there to the edge. He's shooting down the dragon. And what I like that he's doing here, and I know I say this a lot and people don't always pay attention, he did not waste his poison on that dragon. That's important, because if you end up in a spot where your hogs are getting chased down by a ton of those skeleton traps towards the end, and you're fighting against a king and trying to get to the last defense or so, if your hogs end up in a bad spot, that poison can be a real help to kill those skeleton traps. Unfortunately, you see right here he dropped it, so he didn't lead the skeletons into the poison. But nonetheless, it's a good idea to save it though, because those guys can cause a little bit of trouble towards the end sometimes. There's a super bomb. He's out of heals. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Right there is the poison spot to stop them skeletons. You know, but either way, his hogs have cleared 1, 2... There's still 1 super bomb out there. So, you know, there's some room for disaster in this attack, you know. But obviously right now his hogs are working around the outside of the base. The archer and the king are working the outside of the base. You know, the only thing that could really have stopped him at this point is if every single one of his hogs found the last super bomb. Which, never mind. I'm not even paying attention. It was right here. So he's made in the shade at this point, no matter what happens. But the reason why I always tell people, you know, don't attack that base with dragons. That's a Town Hall 7 attack. Move on. Get down on the ground. Is for reasons like this. I mean, even if this was a second attack, a cleanup attack, if this base had been hit with dragons the first time around, we wouldn't know where these 3 bombs exactly were. This one right here is basically pre-triggerable. So when you knock one of those super bombs off the map, it can make a huge difference in a cleanup attack as far as just getting that base off the map and moving on. But overall, you know, it's a small team. We had a couple new guys with us that we had recruited during the Christmas break. We had Saket, Hero, and Mothsong ODZ. Hero actually stepped up, dropped down a couple spots, but produced a 3-star with his second attack. I watched it live yesterday. Let's watch it again right now, I thought it was kind of interesting the way he approached it, but it worked out. Let's take a look and see what he had done again. Now, he used a go wipe here, and when you have a Town Hall in the center there, you know what that base is doing. It's essentially a moat base. It's trying to get you to waste time and not be able to have enough time to get back into that Town Hall. One thing that this update has done for us is given us an extra 30 seconds in fighting these wars. And towards the end of this battle, you're going to see how big of a game changer that's become, because if he hadn't have had that extra 30 seconds, this would have been a 99% attack. Now, he's actually pulling the dragon. He poisoned it, got it down to about 50%. Now, what I would have done right here is once I'd got him over to this edge, I would have dropped my first golem or something and let the wizards take it out without having to fight him too much. But the wizards make pretty quick work of the dragon. So I can't fault him too much for what he did there. He lost about 3 wizards. Now here's another thing I've never been a real big fan of, and that's attacking at the corners. And the reason why is because what you're setting yourself up for is your army to go this way and this way instead of towards the middle. But with a base like this, the middle is going to be tough to get to anyway, because unless you earthquake all those walls, your troops are going to go around. So, you know, again, this was a 100% attack, 3-starred the guy, so it worked out for him perfectly. The king's taking a lot of abuse up there. He doesn't have much longer to go. But down here at the bottom, these golems are shielding these wizards with that P.E.K.K.A. And they're just working that outside. Up top here, the Tesla, it's a low level though. It's got a hold of that P.E.K.K.A. and it's wearing him down. But the P.E.K.K.A. went over to the Tesla, didn't knock it out in time. So honestly, when I was watching this at this point, I did not think this was going to be a 3-star attack. But, you know, that P.E.K.K.A. right there at the top, he is out of range of that Tesla. The wizards are helping clear those defenses. And down here is where the big deal stuff is going. It's those golems and those wizards. Those wizards still being alive is huge. Because up here you can see these guys were getting worn down. There's a super bomb. But we've still got 1 heal. He's still got golems. And he's still got a lot of wizards. So people talk about go wipes and how great the P.E.K.K.A. are. It is not the P.E.K.K.A. that wins the go wipes. It is always the wizards. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wizards still up and running. And these guys are the ones that cause the destructions. The P.E.K.K.A. are tanks. They're like a giant. They're like a golem. They're too slow to do any real effective stuff because keeping the wizards alive is just so key. You know, and he's still got his heal spell. Never even used it at this point. Which I would have dumped it, of course, you know. But, you know, he was running out of time. But it's not the P.E.K.K.A. breaking through these walls. It's those wizard blasts. And shooting right over the top of the walls, the wizards take it out. Those guys are MVP in the go wipe. It's not the golems. It's not the P.E.K.K.A.s. It's always going to be the wizards. But, let's see what else we got here. Noob ended up with our most heroic attack, but I believe that's because he ended up 2-star in his mirror. We had 97.8% destruction. We did lose 2 attacks. That was both Nadia. You know, she's brand new Town Hall 7, doesn't have her dragons yet, so she was trying to use the Town Hall 6 balloon attack. Didn't work. Let's see if there's anything else we should check out real quick. You know, we don't show it a lot now, but there's still a lot of good dragon attacks going on out there from the Town Hall 7s. Sammy McGilla, him and Manny both are good examples of that. We'll check Sammy's out, see how he does. His mirror's pretty straightforward. High air defenses, low walls. And I see people do stuff sometimes, and it worries me. Because one thing I would tell people to do is not unleash your level 6 balloons while the clan castle hasn't been killed yet. But attacking Town Hall 7s, if you've got 3 lightning spells and a lot of dragons, you should probably win no matter what. I mean, it can be messed up, but it's real tough. But the level 6 balloons, you know, they didn't really get to do anything effectively because the clan castle dragon came out and met them. They didn't get to push into the base. A couple of them took some fire breath and went down. And, you know, in all honesty, Sammy was in a little bit of trouble right here because that 1 air defense there is holding the middle of the base. He's got a lot of dragons at the bottom. He's got a lot of dragons at the top, but they're split up. So luckily, these guys are going to move in on that air defense finally. While the air defense is working 1 dragon, the other dragon's helping to knock it out. And once it's gone, there's nothing the base can do to stop the dragon attack. You know, the Archer Tower and the Tesla can't stop it. So that's it for Sammy. We can pretty much do a little fast forward on this here. He's going to plow through the rest of this base, and that's his 3-star. But overall, just a really well executed war, good teamwork. The new guys did their best. Hero got himself a 3-star, but 1 point from perfect. You can't do a whole lot better than that other than perfect. And we could have got that. Balthard went after number 3 here. Let's take a look at what he did. He went a little earlier than I would have expected him to. He went about 6 hours into the beginning of the war, so a lot of first round attacks were still waiting to happen, most likely at that point. But he went ahead and went after number 3. He used his hog army, and he just wasn't able to get 3 stars, so let's see what went wrong here. There was a previous attack on this base, so he knew where the super bombs were most likely. Just pulling his drag and his balloon up there to the corner. Got them knocked out. And here come the hogs. Now, see how he released those hogs? He dropped them all in one clump right here where those archers were. That's where he started them all. Now, here's what I don't like about doing that. If your hogs path all together, which we'll see what his does, if they all hit a super bomb at the same time, like that little group right there just did, he had a heal spell over them, but it's still, you get a better chance of triggering those super bombs with just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hogs if you give them a little bit of a stagger when you move in to attack the base. And spring traps like those down there, another good example. You know, if you get hogs that are all clumped in together and they all hit those spring traps at once, it's just usually bad news. But all of his hogs were taken out, and we'll just pause the attack at this point because we know it's not going to be a 3-star once all the hogs are destroyed. But we saw what he did was he started from the top, he released all his hogs, then they pathed down towards that clan castle, then started moving around a little to the right. Now let's say he took a different approach to that. He knows that first super bomb is right there. So if I had to guess, second super bomb is going to be maybe right here by this Tesla and air defense, and the other one probably right here by the Archer Tower. So let's say we knew ahead of time that 2 of the super bombs were down here. What if, after triggering the clan castle, we had pulled that dragon and balloon up to this corner up here in the left? And go ahead and taken him out. At that point, if you had started all your hogs down here along the bottom, along this row, your first pre-heals could have been right around here and right here. And so you know your hogs would have made it through that path safely. Now, they would have continued, but they would have continued slightly different pathing, so they wouldn't all hit spring traps at the same time. You wouldn't risk running into a super bomb at the same time, even though he knew where those 2 most likely were. But you can see up here, this last super bomb is more or less isolated. It had 1 defense in its container with it. But once he got past those first 2 heals there, which would have encompassed about 70% of the fighting action as he hit the 50% point of the base, he still would have had another heal to cover that super bomb, plus go ahead and make sure all his hogs were healed at the same time as they were getting close to the end of those defenses. They would have been past the king at that point. He would have had a poison spell. Obviously, when the hogs are heading for that second, third, last defense, that's when you start figuring out where you want your poison spell to go, so you can make sure all your troops get inside of the poison so it can slow down the skeleton traps, kill the skeleton traps for you, and if the hogs finish off the defenses, they'll go ahead and turn around and take out the skeleton traps. But you just don't want them wearing down your hogs, because till the last defense is gone, the hogs will ignore the skeleton traps and just keep taking little chunks of abuse. But I think that's all we'll do for right now. I just thought we'd take a look at the war. It's going to be a slam dunk victory for the guys. They did a great job. Most heroic attack's going to go to Noob. We haven't had a most heroic defense yet, and it's mostly likely because almost every attack's been a star except for these bottom two guys trying to take out Wick. But other than that, great job on the war, guys.